Soya beans. The normally yellowish or cream-colored beans are a highly valued crop by nutritionists globally. They are recommended for babies and adults alike. They are a source of a very important plant protein and an oil content found in the seeds. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization FAO says by 2005, Africa produced soybeans on an average of 1.16 million hectares, with an average production of 1.26 million tons the same year. African countries with the largest area of production are Nigeria, South Africa, Uganda, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. Uganda is Africa's number 3 largest soya producer. Dr. Finhes Tukamhabwa is an agricultural scientist, specifically a plant breeder at the Crop Science Department, Faculty of Agriculture, Makerere University in Uganda. He specializes in breeding research and development of the soya crop. He does this work at the Makerere University Research Institute based at Kabanyolo. A very important process of breeding soya varieties has over time taken place at this institute, and this documentary is aimed at bringing out the scientific research contribution made by Dr. Tukamhabwa with a team of researchers and farmers. We begin by tracing the breeding process of soya beans at Kabanyolo. Here, Dr. Tukamhabwa and other researchers have a testing ground for a diversity of soya breeds from different countries around the world.
We have over 100 accession of soybeans from 3 different countries. We have accessions from the US, we have collections from Zimbabwe and Zambia. Now the reason we are looking for sources of resistance to soybean rust disease, and you will get this by accessing so many collections, and you test them, you look at them, and you see those which succumb to the disease. What we have here, really, the stage is still early. We cannot assess how resistant or tolerant they are. Only what we are seeing right now as expected is that some of these are not adapted.
They trace important traits that they tap to crossbreed with Uganda's local soya landraces. This is done to improve local varieties' resistance to the soybean rust disease, which is the commonest and rampant disease in Uganda. Another benefit from exotic varieties is for the improvement of yields of local soya varieties. We talked to a Zimbabwean PhD student and agro researcher at Kabanyolo.
Yeah, these are the lines from Zimbabwe. As you can see, most of them, they are not well adapted. There are some characteristics that may be of interest in terms of the pod clearance. This is what we might need to include in our breeding program. You can see where the leaves are starting from. They're not starting from close to the ground.
The distance from the soil ground to the first pods, it's what we call pod clearance. And different varieties have different attributes. Some varieties, the pod starts from forming from here. And that's not good because the soil pathogens will just jump.
While here at the germplasm grounds, Dr. Tusime, a pathologist, a specialist in the study of plant diseases, identifies for us this disease.
All the varieties that we had before happened to succumb to the disease. It really sort of destroyed the production of the crop in the country. The efforts currently ongoing are positive because we have managed in the last few years to get varieties that are either tolerant or to some extent with good levels of resistance.
He, however, explains where farmers should look to identify the soybean rust infection.
There is this rusty brown kind of symptom, but you would see it properly from the underside of the leaves. This orange, brown rust pustules or lesions, they are really destroying the green material in the plant, and this is the material responsible for producing food.
Now, after scientists pick the favorite traits in the germplasm, they take the desired soya traits to the greenhouse where comprehensive characterization and selection takes place.
See here, basically we have these young parental lines, and we have those crosses you have made, and then we have those plants, some of which have been harvested. You see we are drying them from there, See, no, those pods being dried there are harvested process. So these are the kind of activities that take place within here. And to do it from outside would be hard because the conditions outside are harsh.
The research also involves developing desirable soya varieties for resistance to drought and soybean rust disease, for better yields, and for farmer-preferred short maturity varieties and large-size pods, among other important considerations.
This is the starting point of developing new varieties, where we do characterization, where we check which varieties give us the resistance. We want to try by all means to get that form of resistance which is in those exotic varieties and put them into our locally adapted lines. So here what we do, we cross those exotic lines with the local lines, then we select the best, whilst maintaining the farmer preferred attributes. We want to get those resistance.
It is also here in the greenhouse that scientists identify good and much sought after soya colors, acceptable yield capacities, and so forth.
This is Maxoy 2N. The seed type is a very clear hilum, which farmers like very much and processors. These varieties was released in 2008. It matures in 105 days, that is to harvesting, and yields up to 3.5 tons per hectare. It has a protein content of 38%, oil content of 18%, and it is tolerant to soybean rust disease. It's very resistant to pod shattering, and it has kind of grey outlook in the field. Namsoy 4M together with Namsoy 1N were released in 2004. Namsoy 4M matures in 100 days. It yields 2 to 3 tons per hectare and has a protein content of 43%, oil content 19%, and it is resistant to soybean rust. And it is resistant to pod shattering. However, it should not be overdelayed in the field. If we overdelay it, then we start experiencing pod shattering. Maxoy 1N is the earliest variety that we have of all varieties. That one matures in 95 days. That means harvesting maturity. At 95 days, you will be harvesting. And it yields also 2 to 3 tons per hectare. It has a protein content 41%, oil content of 17%, and it is resistant to soybean rust, very, very resistant to pod shattering. Maxoy 3N has more oil content than any of these because it has 23% oil content and is very high yielding. It is also very tolerant to soybean rust. It means even though the rust disease may show on leaves, it will not significantly affect the yield of this variety. Makerere University has entered a memorandum of understanding with Mount Mel oil mills, and it is in regard to the commercialization of Maxoy 3N. Mount Mel will be getting basic seed and foundation seed from us. It will increase it further, avail it to farmers, and then buy produce from farmers.
Here is where one gets the clear agronomic performance, pest and disease susceptibility or resistance, and the product got out of this process is called the foundation seed. It is also at these fields where one gets the best judgment on the quality distinctions. David Namfumba is an agronomist and a seed system specialist at the Department of Crop Science, Faculty of Agriculture, Makerere University.
This field is actually a multiplication field for foundation seed of the latest variety, that is Maxoy 3N. We select a particular variety that is ideal for Uganda's condition, that yields very well, that is high resistant to diseases, good plant stand, good yield, and we apply from the Variety Release Committee in the Ministry of Agriculture to be commercialized in Uganda.
George Yiga works at the soybean program at Kabajolo. He's the officer in charge of this soya field.
After spraying, that's when the weeding will not become so hard and many times. Instead of weeding 3 or 4 times, you will find you have weeded only once or twice.
Indeed, as George Iga says, there is no trace of weeds in this plantation, which is also green at the height of a dry spell. Dr. Tukamuhaba explains the essence of growing these different soya varieties here.
One thing I want to tell you about this field where we are having foundation seed production, now you have to look that this seed is a final product. Now you look at the level, it's really very, very uniform. It's an inbred line. All soybeans are inbred lines, so we expect limited variation in them. And the highest quality seed you get in the process to begin with starts with the breeder. You get that foundation seed from us, and from here it goes to all those who commercialize it.
Agricultural lecturers at Makerere University bring their students on such fields to give a practical touch to the training. Tony Obua is a student yearning to be a plant breeder.
The most important thing that I've learned on soybean, if you realize, you could have noticed that soybean is a self-breeding crop. Self-breeding, I mean, the pollen does not get transferred from one plant to another. So you realize that when it comes to breeding, you need to be very, very careful, or else you will actually fail to breed.
Makerere University also collaborates with the National Crops Resources Research Institute, or NACRI, of the National Agricultural Research Organization, or NARO. Here at NACRI, extensive research also takes place, mainly for replication of what has been done at Kabanyolo to test the slightly different soil types, altitude and the landscape variation here at Namulonge. First, we examine the aspect of replication of yield trials with agro-technician Sarah Chalisima.
We usually consider planting them in the size of 5 meters per row. The spacing is just 60 centimeters by 5. There are 24 varieties, entries. Generally, we believe the soils may not be performing the same way. You find there may be the fertile soils may be on this side where they may vary according to the location. So we replicate to avoid bias, kind of, so that they test on different soils.
Another agro-technician working with Dr. Tukamuhaba at NACRI is Paul Kabai. He gives another perspective to the approach of doing trials that have already been done at Kabanyolo.
This field is what I would call a field store, because it's an area where we are maintaining our breeding materials. We have quite a wide range of materials in here. We have germplasm from collaborating centers, from AVRDC, from USA, from Zimbabwe, and all those countries that carry out research on soybean.
From the research institutes, the scientists follow up their products to the farms. We drove all the way to the rural village of Chetume in the sub-county of Zirobwe in Luwero district north of Kampala. And after a winding road through coffee and banana plantations, we emerged into an opening where Dr. Tukamuhaba has traced big soya farmers. The saying that farmers are also researchers came true here when we were led by Mzee John Lusasi, the largest soybean grower in this area.
Soya namodya namodya nga mu buwunga mu ngeri yampa naye ng'ate kyakulya kirungi nnyo nga kituwa amaanyi talina mirimu mingi talina kizibu nafunawo ssaawa 3 mwema.
From what the farmer has said, David Namfumbe, the seed system specialist, confirms
the ultimate end user of the variety are the farmers. Therefore, Makerere University has to find channels of getting the variety from the university to the farmers. The different channels through which the seed or the variety goes to reach the farmers is what we call seed systems.
Information from research work and guidelines to soybean farmers has been produced by the Soya Breeding and Multiplication Project, Makerere University.
The first publication is in English, the official language of the country. Then the second language that we have produced is in Uganda. We know this is the language that is most spoken in Uganda, in different parts of the country, so we have made, and when we go to farmers, we usually ask those who know how to read Luganda to remain with them. The other language that we have produced is Luo. Soybean is mostly grown in northern Uganda, and so when we go to train farmers in northern Uganda how to grow soybean, we usually leave them with this publication. Another publication that we have produced is Soybean Utilization Guide. We leave them with farmers to show them how they can utilize soybean at home. To support that, because when you go away, farmers will need a reference point.
This was a mini documentary focusing on research and development of the soybean crop by Makerere University, specifically the role played by plant breeder Dr. Phinehas Tukamhabwa.